Hello, and welcome back to the June Tuesday Night Swiss. This is my recap and analysis of Game 3, where I had the white pieces versus Michael Brown. Um, Before this game, I was 2 out of 2 in this tournament. I had beaten Edward and I had beaten Zaino Abidin in the past 2 Tuesdays, and so me, Michael, and a third person were leading the tournament with 2 out of 2. And so Michael and I were paired against each other, and the other person leading with 2 played someone with 1.5 because no one else with 2 points. And so the winners of these games would kind of determine who's going to be really leading the tournament after 3 rounds. Um, and so yeah, going into this game, I thought I was well prepared. I'd reviewed some lines in like my openings of choice the day before, but Michael is roughly like 1700. He's beaten very strong players. As of the month supplement for this, I'm rated around 1400, um, and so it's a pretty significant difference in rating. But also that can put some pressure on the higher rated player to prove that they can find a win. Um, and so I guess yeah, let's go right into the game. We have a Dutch defense with f5. And it's actually quite surprising because he's playing this the e6. This is like the classical variation of the Dutch. I've seen a lot of games go like G6, and then I'll do like a similar thing where bishop G7 is played. This is like the Leningrad variation. Um, but yeah, he played the classical Dutch with bishop b4 and actually tried to throw the bishop immediately. And so I was quite surprised about this because the dark square diagonal in front of the king is typically open, but d6 will get played and closing it. But yeah, I was actually quite surprised that the dark square bishop is gone on move 5. Um, but that's actually okay. I think I said it before in one of these analyses, but honestly, in like when I play the Catalan, with G3, bishop G2, I don't really know what to do with the dark square bishop. I've struggled a lot with like what to do with it. And a lot of the time I will like trade it off for the knight so I can have access to like the E4 square. And the center gets a lot stronger when you can trade out the dark square bishop, but he actually does it for me. So he kind of solves my one of my big gripes with the Catalan for me on move 5. So I was actually quite pleased with that. Yeah, he castles, and so actually already here I'm thinking, so I wasn't sure if c5 is a playable like a playable option in this position, like c5 or d5, and I didn't want the position to get like locked down, but like I see in Dutch defenses before, then he could open the big king side attack. So I was debating between like like bishop g2, queen c2, queen a4, just moves to prevent some natural expansion, like knight b3, to stop c5, but I didn't like knight b3 allows knight e4, like knight b3 knight e4 here, and it's kind of hard to dislodge the knight. Um, and I didn't like that after like queen c2 now. Um, there's some threats of expansion before the bishop gets to the g2 square. So I wasn't entirely like it's not very concrete, but I was pretty sure the bishop g2 is fine. He goes d6, and then now I got queen c2, getting all the moves that I wanted to do. Eventually, just is done in order while he's still playing kind of passively, not really crossing any bridges here. Knight d6 also was quite surprising for me because I don't know this line of the Dutch very much. So I didn't know if c5 is like a typical break in the position. I think it probably isn't because of how weak this c pawn ended up getting. After like knight b6, it's not really uh, a b6 to defend, but that has something like knight g5 hitting the rook. Like this is not playable because the rook is sangs. Um, this would not work. Uh, so I guess knight c6 does make sense in this case. But c5 would never really be a good pawn break. But now actually, I think for a bit that I don't want to castle yet. Or I can castle. There's nothing wrong with castling right now. But I had an idea that e4 would be playable right now, and if I didn't do it now, something like d5 would get played. Like if I just castle now, then he can maybe play like d5. And now it's really hard for me to get e4 on. We have kind of like a stonewally structure. And I was quite concerned that this position would, not activate my pieces very well at all. Um, so I go e4 right now, and my thought is that after takes, you can't really take. You can. It's not very good to do this. I thought maybe like, after like d5, it's hard to take back. But then like rook e8 comes. I can't take this because the bishop defends. Um, and then like also like the knight can come in, look for a fork. I wasn't entirely sure I definitely think that like he could have taken and made some problems. Um, after like for example like here. Uh, but I think even like King F8 is King F1 is fine. And I can just move the kind of castle by hand, um, if I had to. But I don't really know. The escalated pawn feels kind of weak. So actually, I was kind of concerned. I played e4, and then I was like kind of happy when he went a5 because I didn't know if the knight takes queen takes line was very good for me. I think maybe I have to come back. But like this, it doesn't feel very pleasant. You can't go here with the fork. You have to go like here or something. And it like the knight has to go back. Or even like if I have now, maybe it's viable. Um, this feels a lot more dangerous. I think maybe it's like a 95 here, which is pretty nice. Either forcing the trade and doubling the pressure, or lighting this knight set on an outpost for free, which is very nice. Um, so I'm not entirely sure if this position is playable. But he goes a5 instead, which gives me time to just castle and not really deal with any of the complications that would come with the open e file. Um, then he goes queen e8, and actually for a bit I don't realize what the point of queen e8 is. I'm just I only see the forward movement. I'm like, oh, he's supporting e5. But I wasn't really concerned about e5. I would just push and then play around the weaknesses on CDE, like with try to open the C file with C5. Uh, but only after did I realize that queen h5 is also quite good. Like queen h5, knight g4, the bishop can come in, the f file is open. It's actually quite scary. Um, but I can take this time to get the rook opposite the queen on the e file and just kind of support the center, support this knight. That way now, like after takes, I have some forward movement at least. And so like now takes, that's not gonna work because you just lose everything. um. So yeah, so now actually I was actually quite happy with this position. There is some loose ends, like his d pawn is quite loose. If the knight you attack the rook, get the pawn. Um, there's a lot of concerning elements to this position, but I thought I was a little bit better here. He goes queen h5, and my thought process after queen h5 is that there's not really an h3 like h3 g4 is scary because after like h3 e5 now, and now he's hitting this twice. This is hit twice now, and like everything just felt like it's falling apart in this position. Um, Obviously I have time. I can go like g4, and then the queen has to move, and then I can address the problems one by one, like this. And this actually I'm happy with. This is fine. Um, but it it's scary. You've pushed the pawn in front of the king. It's an open f file. The knight might be able to get around and do some scary things. But I wasn't. Yeah, h3 was playable. And I thought of h3 for a bit, but eventually I went with knight eg5, putting counter pressure on the e6 pawn. Also monitoring f7. Obviously the queen is defending it as well as the knight, so it's not like when the knight moves it's mate or anything. But when the knight does move, I can sort of kick everything out and then look for an attack. So this is a constant pressure on h7 that I found quite useful. But the more important thing is that you have to address the problem on e6. And honestly, like rook e8 is so passive here that I knew he wouldn't play it. And also it allows me to build things like like d5 now. If this transformation happens, I'm very happy. Like something like you can even go back, but like I don't even know if I have to take here. I can take um and I don't know, like the bishop opens up. This rook is nice hanging right now. But there's a lot of value in this position. And actually, I think I wonder if this works. There might be like 95. I think I even stack the rook like 95 and kick the queen. I think you have to go. Like I don't know. I don't think you can defend this. Everything is loses. So yeah, you definitely can't take that pawn back. You have to move the knight like here instead. But then this gives up the c pawn. So this kind of transformation You know, if I maybe you can't even take here. Maybe you have to like put or move the knight. Sorry, it's no e5 here. Maybe you have to move the knight here instead. But still, like this is kind of scary. The queen can come here. Maybe not here. I think this is bad. I think this loses probably. Um, but yeah, I mean yeah, I can find a lot of definitely here. uh, Supporting everything. I feel like this is like a powder keg waiting to explode. With if Rookie 8 happens, so he has to play pretty actively. So with E5, opening the line. Yeah, I was monitoring this for a while. But obviously you can't take like if you take this, you're gonna get blown out of the water. You can't because everything is kind of tied to each other. Like his knights are tied to each other pretty tightly. So definitely cannot take here. So I just push. Stop. So I push d5. And now I'm expecting knight b4 here. Um, just to like look at some of the weaknesses. Um, What do you have knight d4? I thought like after like knight b4, I have to go like queen d2 or something, and then I guess this is like a worse spot for the knight because he has to go back via a6, after like a3 or something. But I thought maybe he had time to like break open like like something like c or even like just here, just building pressure on the knight. Now that the knight's defended though, I can leave. But it's it's once again a lot of pressure in the position, especially with the f file open. But it's at d4 instead, and now I'm actually quite happy because I can transfer the knight to b5. Because he can't take back. If you take here, you can't really take back because you don't want to let this knight just live here. Because now I can play like f, like this pawn is loose, and like f4 will lock the knight in place. Then I can go to e6 even, and I can get a passed pawn, two squares from promoting. It's not going to promote with three defenders. But the when I take here, the diagonal opens up. It's very lucrative for white after e takes. So you have to the other knight, which is what he does. Queen to g5. Um, and now I go for another thing here because I'm wondering if this is playable now, forcing the bishop trade and keeping the light square bishop. But I didn't like that. There's just like c6, and there's just kind of like nothing. Just here, d5, and all of a sudden I can come in like this, basically, and pressure some of the pawns, which is nice. But this pawn is not promoting. This pawn is lost. There's no way you can like invest in the pawn enough. And once something like this happens, the bishop's locked out of the game, and then or even just like knight g4 now, my queen is locked in the corner, and my the pieces are coming in. It's quite scary. So I didn't like the 96 play. But I was also looking at knight b5 because knight b5 elicits either knight e8 or rook f7. I think rook f7 makes the most sense. But this is kind of destabilizing the back rank here, and I might have time to play like h4 and swing the pieces around. Maybe like a3 b4, trying to break open the position while there's only one rook in the back rank. But actually, and what I was moving, I mentioned h4 is actually what I play. I play h4 here. It's free tempo. And also doing it like this, he's probably like my thought was that he would try to defend the pawn with the queen now instead of the rook, which is exactly what he does. Queen g4, and then queen d7. Actually, after the game, he said that queen h5 is probably a lot better. Because now after this, you have the queen on f7, which is then pressuring the f2 pawn, defending the pawn, and allowing the bishop to stay active. The queen d7 variation locks the bishop away and also does not support the f2 file, the f file. And so yeah, so I think queen h5 was a or queen g4 was like a slightly inaccurate move here. Maybe even like a mistake because of how slow the bishop's development is after that. Yeah, after knight b5, queen d7, and the queen is defending the pawn, but locking this bishop away, and it's going to take a couple extra turns to get everything active. Which gives me enough time to centralize the rook. Now that he's like opened the bishop line, I have time for c5, and I'm just going to break open everything. put a lot of pressure, find a backwards pawn, infiltrate with the rooks, and look for a win. I feel like at this point I'm playing this game for a win, and not a draw. Not like it's. I don't think it's strictly win or draw. I think there's still a lot of counterattacking chances for black, especially on the open f file. But I would say that I liked my chances after c5. I thought that the position would open up a lot. My bishop could come alive, and I could win with the more active pieces. He goes bishop g4. Um, I thought he could maybe even just take c6, but this is really just scary. I don't think he. No, that doesn't work at all. Yeah, because of the and like you can go like here, by time, and you just invest everything. Like you just throw all the pieces down the file. Um, maybe definitely not PC, or at least definitely not c6. I think maybe there's like b6 opportunities here. I was eyeing b6 for a little bit. I didn't really know what you would do after. I think you have to go queen c4, or else you lose the pawn. No, the pawn's defended. Maybe you can go like here. But I don't know. There's certainly. Or actually, no. You can take the pawn. You take the free pawn, and then you might have to go for the queen trade here. But I think if you don't go for the queen trade, I'd take all the pawns. Uh, and this is a position I'm quite happy with. This pawn is loose in rook c1. So I see why he wouldn't go DC. D4 instead, but bishop g4 allows me to get my rook to z2, which is what I was eyeing anyway for a while. I wanted rook d2 to monitor the f pawn without the queens. I was kind of sick of the queen being the defender against this kind of attack. But now that the bishop's here, actually, it's harder for it takes once again more time for his pieces to get to the attack, which means that my counterattack my attack on the C and D files is gonna work. Like he's not like properly defending this comparatively to this counterattack, like not really working out very well. But after moving the bishop, he's able to get the rook to c1, which kind of holds the c pawn in place, and now I can't really take, or else there's no point. I could try to invest. I thought about rook c1 was one of my moves here that I was thinking about, but I thought this after I don't really know why rook c1. I just wasn't a fan. I think there was something concrete, but I don't remember exactly what it was. Maybe it was b6, and then after take. Oh yeah, it's because when you take, this is not trading on the pieces. Because the bishop comes back. That was why. Yeah. So rook c1 I was not fond of. I was also eyeing uh takes and queen a4, but I thought that there was like bishop d7 or even rook c5, but definitely bishop d7. And I was gonna walk into a lot of trouble for not a lot of value. Like I can't really get through still, and these rooks aren't doubled anymore, so I can't get on the C file in time. So this is also I also didn't really like. So I went with A4, almost waiting. It's not really a waiting move because anchoring the knight is still a very useful move. Like it's not like I'm just like passing by doing this. You can't kick out the knight because I can take this while it's defended. Um, and so anchoring the knight here means that like this trade just kind of gives me even more pawns to storm with, and they're already like halfway down the board. Um, and so a4 I was actually quite pleased with. He goes bishop h5 here. I think looking for some like knight g4 or like queen d7, trying to get in finally. But I think he overlooked that bishop h3 just works. And there's a lot of ideas here. But okay, well it's the rook, and if you just come back to here, I can just push, and then I win the rook. And if you come forward, I can like come around here and then push and win the rook. And so the rook it's just there. Um, what we discussed after the game was that knight g4 doesn't work because of um I believe it was queen e4, um knight f6, queen f5. I think with and then the rook is just stuck, and then these pieces aren't hanging per se. Um, the rook can move. It's important to note that the rook can move. So if it goes to like here though, I will take, and then after takes, I have check, and I win the pawn, and the pawn falls soon, and everything falls. So that was why he didn't go knight g4. We also thought he also mentioned b6, um, but I can just move. I'm not in any like particular hurry. It's annoying because he gets control of e4 here, but I can just move. G6, something like I don't know, queen d1, and this is actually it's not very fun. Um, or actually, or he can move and he can move the here. But then again, you actually maybe not queen d1, maybe queen c1, and then if you save the rook, I just take um, and either anchor the knight here and here, or even just go for a queen trade. This is forced because everything falls if you don't trade. And then the knight just gets to a very dominant square here, supported by the rooks. And so bishop g6 also doesn't really work. So you get bishop g4, right back to where he was before. And this actually, I'm fine with this trade. My bishop was kind of just staring into my pawns before, and yes, it was doing a very supportive role on the queen side. But that role is kind of past now, and getting rid of his light square bishop means that there's almost no attack anymore for black. Like these light squares are weak, but it doesn't matter. There's no way in. There's never really a way in. I can always just go king h2 or like king g2 and just stay safe forever. Um, and so the attack for black kind of dies, which means that I have time to just kind of do whatever I want on the on the queen side. Even like now the rook c1 idea is playable as well. Um, and I thought maybe rook c1 now would be good. Like something like rook c1. But I wasn't really sure after like queen f6. If I'm just like I'm stuck playing defense on this pawn. If I have to like bring the knight back, and then try to play like from here, from the e4 square. Um, this was a possible idea. But then I wasn't really sure like what like maybe there's what I can do here. There might be like rook f, I don't know. Rook c1, queen f6, and then like now it doesn't really work that well. It's queen for two rooks. Um, and I have like, and there's threats, but I think the king is safe. Um, and I can like go for the weaknesses, but like this is a pretty blatant threat. um, and it's hard to defend. But I wasn't like this is much more unclear. The rook c1 line. I was also eyeing rook e4. Uh, with the idea of like rook c4, and then when I take, uh, everything gets traded, then my knight ends up here. Like he can take if he wants. Like he can take and go here. But once again, runs into this issue. Um, but if if I go here and he goes like I don't know, like e4 or something, or like, I don't know, like b6, let's maybe b6. Then when I take, everything gets traded, and we have this position where these pawns are just really weak, and my knight can get supported and win them. And I thought this was this is probably win or draw for White. I don't think White can lose this. Maybe I can lose this way. Uh, but I thought this was also quite pleasant. But then I just thought queen e4. Like queen e4 just does like the rook e4 job, but also with the threat of coming into e6. And actually, I think knight f6 is a blunder here. And he thought so as well after the game. He said that maybe knight h6 is the correct move. Um, After knight h6, it's much harder for me to get on this diagonal. My plan here was queen g2. Um, and then if something like queen d7, just king h2. And then like this can come, but it doesn't matter. Maybe like a repetition here or something. but also like I don't have to repeat. I can go like rook e4 first. And yes, this pawn is completely loose, but like you can't shadow the center like this. Um, and so now like king h2, queen h3, I get on the diagonal, either force the queen trade and win the pawns, or something else. This knight is sidelined after knight h6. Um, but knight h6 is definitely a lot better than knight f6, which is what happens in game. Because this cuts off the rook, so I can just get here in one turn and not like three. Which is now just threatening everything. Like if this gets in, I can just take, and win the pawn, and win the pawn, and win the game. So yes, queen e7, but I can still go here. And actually, I was wondering if you had queen f7 here, but I think I just took this first. And this is really dangerous now because if you take back, I take, and then I fork. Like if like here, I go here, and I win the knight. I win a piece, and then also this falls. So you have to take the queen now. Uh, and like that. But this, I mean, this I thought was a win. Rooks just come in, and maybe there's like some counterplay. Maybe it's like a rook c2. You know, you look for this and triple up on the f pawn. But I think I just win. Like I'm pretty sure. I just take I just take everything, and this just goes. Like, I don't think this is a humongous threat. It's certainly something I have to deal with. Maybe I can't take this pawn yet. Um, maybe I have to go like I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. How to prevent knight g4. Uh, I could have to like hole up with rook f1 or something. I just give up this pawn. Um, but still, thought with this passed pawn, the king is very restricted. Um, so I wasn't even sure if that was possible. But he takes, and then we get out with this position. Um, and we have this. Material's even. Like we both have 6 pawns, so my knight is really strong here. This pawn is 2 squares from promoting. The rook is threatening the only open file, where all the pawns can be captured from, and he has to defend this faster. He goes b6 to defend the loose c pawn, but this also opens up a weakness here on c6. Um, I so right now I'm thinking about like knight a7 is a thought of mine. I was thinking maybe like knight a7. And then you have to go like here, 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 and then um, I thought maybe there was some counterplay, but I think I can even defend from back here, and then I think this just goes because now the squares are completely cut off. Um, I wasn't entirely sure if 97 worked. Um, maybe there might be like a more precise version, like rook ce8 instead. Then you just like kind of sit and like I can't really push anymore. It just gets clogged. But then actually this comes. And all the actually no, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. One, we get to make a move. Eventually here. This doesn't really work. Because after takes, if you take here, you're just losing. Or if you take here, it's check. Oh, this is what this one's. I didn't realize I didn't realize this was check. This does win then because you can't take, but it's pinned. And you can't take here anymore, but it's pinned. And if you take here, it's promoted. Maybe this does work. But I wasn't too sure if 97 worked. And I was kind of running. I mean, I had like 20 minutes left, and he had like 7. So he spent a lot of time here in the end game trying to look for a draw. I'm no 97 didn't really scream to me as like a winning idea. Um, maybe it is, but like, or maybe it's fine for him with after like rook e8. But I thought now like f3, and I could just look for just a king block. I just go all the way because they can't really stop me from getting like here because the king can't move forward. These squares are covered, and for the knight to get here, it's gonna take several turns because it's a adjacent square. You have to go like here, or you have to go like here, 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 here. And in the meantime, I can go I can just push the F pawn to here and defend it in a pawn chain. Like if he goes like this, um, I don't want to do it until he's off because I don't want to give him access to g4. So I would go like here first maybe, and then if he goes to this maneuver, I can get the F pawn up to here, and it just looks very annoying to stop. Um, yeah, okay, maybe 97 does work then. I just was not confident in it. Uh, F3 first instead, just restricting the knight's movement. Just so there's no shenanigans on g4. It gives him time to get here. And after the game, he calculated a pretty long sideline. So that wasn't something I saw after I make my move that I thought might have worked, but I actually don't think it does. I was thinking about rook d7, but you can't take this. Oh. It's not a takeable piece. This. But I wasn't sure if I think you could maybe just give up the spawn. Like if you just go here, and then like here, and I don't know, like I feel like well this is essentially the line. I mean I wasn't really sure if I could support this pawn because this is always playable. Not if I have f4 on the board, but if I have f4, he can go knight g4 and dislodge. And so it's actually quite annoying. So actually, rook d7 was not going to work, but I thought it was funny because like I've been throwing the rook right into the wind, but the fork is just too strong. But I go g4 instead, getting ready to kick the knight out to give me control of the square, so I can just infiltrate. He goes c6 first, which allows me to get this fork going. And I thought maybe with rook cd8, that after e7, rook d7, it was quite difficult for me to move forward. So maybe I wouldn't be able to go e7 yet here. I have to look for like take here, here. And you can't push though is the thing. Because the king can make it there in time. And this I'm not up any material in the same game. But he goes rook e8 instead. So when I push e7, there's a clear path to promotion here. Like in the other variation, the path to promotion is blocked. But I go e7, and now you can't stop promotion. When I take here, I just win the knight. But I wonder if you went rook cd8 instead. I don't know what the line that could have been missed was. Because then like if does this happen? Is there like knight d7? Because you can't take because I don't know. I wasn't entirely sure. I don't think you can take. Unless you don't take the knight. And you go like here instead. But then after, yeah, maybe you here instead. Knight c7. But then when you come back to defend, I push now. Oh, but then it doesn't work. Or it kind of does, I guess. Because when it all comes down, I'm up a pawn. These pawns are fractured. Now I'll do anti-pass pawn. Maybe this is still one endgame. It's very hard to go for the pawns here as black as my king is so close, and this pawn is defended. So like maybe this is still a win. But yeah, he goes rook e8 instead, so it's actually a much cleaner win this way. And it would have to take a lot more time to calculate the rook c8 lines. But in this position, I mean, I can just take here because I promote, up a knight. This conversion I thought was pretty clean. B takes c6, opening up the line. He was rook b4, pretty cool trap here. If I take, I don't really have time to promote, and he promotes with jack, and it's drawable. I mean, not really, because I can the diagonal is blocked by the knight. Like if I go like here, and he looks for like a, like there's not really any more checks after this. And then I can just like force a queen trade and then get the knight back if I wanted to. But it was tricky there. So I dropped the knight back instead. Um, he brings the king, and now I can take. Because if you take the rook back, I just push, and you can't stop. You can't stop the king this way because the knight covers the square. You have to take the knight instead, and then promote. And this is much easier to defend. um, so he has to take the knight instead. I play c7 to get the king farther away. Keep the rook on this file to cut the king off from the a pawn, so only the c pawn can get promoted, but which is in the square for the king. Because all the techniques are coming back for the endgame. I can walk the king there in time, and then I can bring the rook off the file. And now, since I have a 3-on-2, I can just lock the pieces in place here and just make a pass pawn over here. He has to bring the king back to top the pass pawn, which gives up both the other pawns, and he resigns in this position. So a very big win against Michael Brown, putting me at 3 out of 3 in the tournament standings. Not the sole leader, but I believe the other the other 2 out of 2 also won his game. So I think we'll probably be playing each other next week. But I think we're the only ones with 3 out of 3 anymore. But yeah, this is a great win. I thought I played extremely well this round. Maybe there were some like small inaccuracies, like I could have taken better advantage of certain things, but I didn't feel like I made any significant like mistakes, and I don't think that my opponent was able to like had any times to capitalize on mistakes that I made. So I thought this was a very solid game. I'll look at the engine analysis later and tell them that I'm terrible at the game. But I thought I played very well here. Um, and this is a very strong win against a very strong player. Michael is around 1700 after winning his first 2 games, and so I was very happy with this win. And so yeah, I mean, this is like a lot of stuff that I've been training for came up in this, and so I'm really pleased with the way this turned out. And so yeah, next round I'll probably be playing Josep, who is the other 3 out of 3. Uh, unless he's taking a bye, I have no idea. But yeah, that'll be a very exciting clash of titans to see who will be probably the sole leader, unless we draw, uh, the sole leader of the tournament after 4 rounds. But that we'll have to wait for next Tuesday. And until then, I will be working hard on my skills and making sure that I'm in tip-top shape to keep going. So yeah, I'm very pleased with this result. And yeah, next time I will be looking for 4 out of 4 if I can make that happen. But until then, I will be simply prepping for the next one. So see ya.